What's up, guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you have been listening along to my journey since the beginning, thank you so much for listening and coming back for another episode. In this episode, I am going to be talking a little bit more about my partial hospitalization program. I'm super excited to share this with you because I think it's just something that I learned a lot from, and even though I'm not like a therapist or anything, I think sharing my experience will hopefully help to give some at least minimal guidance and advice to those of you that are out there struggling with your own mental health. So the first thing I want to say is do not be afraid to seek help. If you are going through a struggle, especially if you're suicidal or if you've suffered some kind of trauma, or even if you're just feeling some depression and anxiety, make sure you reach out for help, whether it be talking to a friend, a spouse, a roommate, a family member, or calling a hotline or reaching out to a therapist. Make sure that you reach out for help. There's always going to be at least one person out there that's willing to listen to you. You are not a burden, and you are worth listening to. So just if you take one thing from anything I have said so far, just take that with you. So going on, back in the end of March, I was living in Arizona. I flew back to Texas to stay with my parents, visit them for a little while, and figure out what was going to, go on as I was struggling with my mental health. I was having suicidal ideation. I was self-harming. They luckily were able to get me into a partial hospitalization program. So when I went to town, at first we were looking into a behavioral health institution that did inpatient. They were actually not open anymore, and so we were able to find New Dimensions, which offered a partial hospitalization program. Eventually, I transitioned over into the outpatient program, I think it was. And so anyways, early April, I was able to start the program there. I was going 5 days a week for I don't remember, from 9 to 3 or something. So 6 hours a day, I think I was going, and just doing group therapy. And during this time period, I was able to just like I said before, I was able to identify that I had been raped, and I was able to process this. One of the hardest things to process this was I realized that I was angry that it happened, and I was angry at the person that caused the situation, but I was more angry and hadn't processed the fact that there were people there that I had considered to be new friends that could have stopped the situation, and they didn't. And so during this process, during my stay, during the partial hospitalization, I was able to actually process that, and it was one of the most relieving things I have ever felt. So one of the biggest takeaways that I got from that partial hospitalization program was writing letters. And I thought it was stupid at first, but usually those things that sound stupid are the ones that are going to be the most helpful. So thought it was stupid at first. My very first letter I wrote, I was like, I'm just going to pick the easiest thing, and I wrote a love letter to my dog. Theo had been going through some issues of his own. He was having some neurological problems back in February that were kind of unexplained at the time. We were trying to figure out what was going on with him. But on top of my own depression and anxiety, having to deal with him was a huge trigger for me. And so I decided to write a love letter to him as part of my healing process. I felt so dumb. We were going around in group, and the girl that went before me was reading a love letter, or an angry letter to her mom. And so she's over there crying and writing this super emotional, very just emotionally heightened letter to her mom. And then I'm next, and I'm writing a letter to my dog. How stupid does it get? Stop telling yourself it's stupid, right? We all have our own battles, and we all cope different ways, and we're all stressed out by different things. And if my dog was causing me stress, so what? It is my right to be able to process that and to be able to overcome my own personal struggles. And so just the way the group was so welcoming and warming and understood that was just absolutely phenomenal. So during the process, I did write that love letter to my dog. I wrote an angry letter to the friend of the guy that caused my incident. And that was, like I said, one of the biggest reliefs was writing that letter. And then the other letter that I wrote that was super significant during this time was I actually wrote a grief letter to my stage lean body. So when I went into the partial hospitalization program, I was having a really bad struggle with my body image. I had at that point put on about 50 pounds from at my max, I got up to 50 pounds above my last stage weight. So I weighed in 134 pounds on my last show day, and that during that week I had weighed all the way up to 184 pounds. I was absolutely disgusted with myself, and I hated looking in the mirror. I had to buy all new clothes because none of my clothes fit, and I was just like torn apart with myself. So we were doing a lesson on grief, and one of the interns actually was talking about grief, and she was like, grief doesn't have to be like the loss of a person. Grief can be the loss of anything. And so when she started saying that, I was like, maybe I need to grieve the loss of my stage lean body. Like, again, in my head it sounded stupid, but I won't say I've had zero issues with binging, but my binge eating has been almost totally curbed. I no longer struggle with my body image. I am more confident in my body. I'm now down 20 pounds from there, so I'm sitting at 164 pounds. Still 30 pounds above my stage weight, which is fine with me. I am more confident now than I ever was, and love my body more now than I ever did when I was stage lean. And I am so excited to compete again, because now that I have this love for myself at my body and the stage that it's in now, I can only imagine how my confidence is going to just like glow when I get on stage, because I'm going to be able to show off all the hard work that I have put in, not only physically but mentally over this last year that I have taken away from the stage. So I am just like beyond excited, and I feel like I'm so deserving of getting my pro card this year, which is like a huge goal of mine, just because of how far I've come mentally. So anyway, back to my partial hospitalization program. I know I got a little bit off track there, but I like I said, I did these letters, I listened to other people, I journaled, I read, and I just grew so much during this time. Another part of the partial hospitalization program was working with a psychiatrist. I was not a fan of the doctor that was there. I did not feel heard by him. So I did find my own outside psychiatrist in town there, and absolutely adored her. She opened my eyes a little bit to my diagnosis some more. She actually had her own opinions about whether or not I was actually bipolar. I still, based on the fact that I've been assessed by I think 3 other psychiatrists with the same diagnosis, and a psychologist and my therapist as well, all think based on what I've said that obviously a therapist can't diagnose you, but based on what I've said, they said it sounds like I'm more consistent with the bipolar diagnosis. But anyways, so I was able to find a psychiatrist, get my medication sorted out. I finally, after over a year of struggling with trying to find the right medications, just change after change, finally found the correct regimen for me. And I cannot tell you how good it felt to not just be down all the time, to not burst into tears over the littlest things, to not get irritated at a stupid thing like spilling some water on me or whatever. I am just over the moon with how well my doctor was able to manage my medications for me. And so I'm on those same medications now. We have made some adjustments to when I take them based on my sleep habits, and we have increased the doses of some a little bit. Again, right now I'm pretty well managed with those medications though, and I still see a therapist regularly. And I'm being managed by a new psychiatrist here because I have since moved back to Texas. After that little scare with my mental health, decided that I wanted to move closer to my family because they are my biggest support system. So when our lease was up at our apartment complex and my year contract with the hospital I was working with was up, we decided to move back to Texas, and that's where I am now. So we moved back to Texas. I got a job as a travel nurse at one of the local hospitals in Round Rock. My husband has a job in Georgetown, and our original plan was actually to stay in Houston with my parents, but he got a job right away, and so we moved a couple hours away from them, and I got a travel assignment. I did 6 months at that hospital. I absolutely loved it. I worked with some fantastic people there. And I just got to a point where I wasn't happy nursing anymore. I kind of lost my fire for it. I definitely was feeling the burnout of COVID. And as you can imagine, COVID with nursing is one of those areas that's kind of, not fantastic right now. And so I have decided to take on coaching full time. So I have a NASM CPT and I have my Precision Nutrition Level 1 certification. And I am doing strictly online training at this time. So if you haven't already, make sure to check out my Instagram at KSwissFit, my Facebook, KSwissFit, and my website, kswissfit.com, for more information on my coaching packages. I think through my experience with bodybuilding and through my experience with my mental health, with my binge eating, with my body image issues, I have a lot to offer other people that are going through those same things and want to live healthier, happier lives. So make sure you check those resources out and reach out to me if you have any questions about my services and my packages. I am excited to hear from you guys. Again, thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Now that I'm kind of caught up to current time, I'm just going to be doing some day in the life videos. I will be starting my prep for my next competition soon, which I'm super stoked about. So probably after my vacation next week, I am going to start doing some just day in the life videos so y'all can get a kind of idea of what I'm doing on a typical day, whether it's to take care of my mental health, to take care of my physical health, what I'm eating, that kind of thing. So make sure you continue to follow my story. Again, I am so excited that y'all have listened all the way through. Thank you so much.